Hey everyone, this is ScrapComputer here. This video is going to cover a pretty important subject I've got requested a lot. How to deal with split pushers. I'm going to cover a multitude of strategies and tactics you can employ in general gameplay that will either nullify to completely destroy their ability to split. I'm going to make a how to split push guide soon, and I thought this would be a great way to cut into the subject. Countering it's actually a nice milestone in how to actually play and split push. And for those of you that absolutely hate split pushing and have no idea, especially these guys in gold and below, you really are going to have to look at this one, and it's really easy. You'll be very surprised and quite hopefully pleasantly surprised. Even if the lane's really ahead, I'm going to cover how to do that as well in a separate section at the end, but without further ado, let's jump right in. Number 1, vision. This is a tip that will help all of the other ones I'm about to give. It's a core strategy that can, and I'm not joking, single-handedly stop an enemy from splitting with one good pink ward or one good red-led scan. This diagram will cover both sides, but only one side is in a proper example. So first of all, get vision. Just because you're the one getting split onto doesn't mean you don't need vision. This is a common misconception. Here below is the common green ward areas. Pick the 2 most prevalent ones and use them depending upon your enemy and where they're pushing to. These areas allow you to see if your enemy roams to your red, to see if they're taking your jungle, or they try to roam and gank mid or help their team out. Whenever they move, you shall see them do that, and it gives your team and your jungler and your mid laner all time to maybe collapse in on them, gank them, or just in general know that your team are going to maybe get collapsed upon themselves. Or hell, if they just pushed you off a bit or are waiting in lane. This is all information you and your team are going to need to avoid split pushers being more effective than you. Additionally, we need a pink ward or red lens in these common places depending upon how pushed you are. Once you remove your enemy's vision, they simply can't push any longer without being ganked really easily. They know this, so they can't split. It's as simple as the diagram shows. They're going, their jungler for example is going to go into the enemy territory or your territory, remove all the vision. If they have no vision, they don't see the gank coming. They can't see the gank coming. They don't know if they're safe or not. Hence, the indecisiveness means they leave. Bang, the split pusher is gone. It's the easiest way to deal with the split pusher, surprisingly. Remove their vision. Get a pink ward as the top laner, and then as a jungler going with red lens and sweep every ward that isn't pinked. If you remove these wards, I guarantee you, assuming they're not plus 20 in score, they're going to back off. Number 2, stick to the lane. This is one of the easiest ways to deal with a split pusher. Send someone to the lane who simply won't leave, who simply will keep on following that laner. If they move, you move. Yes, it's that simple. I know a lot of people get really irritated when they're following a player, and I get it. It is annoying. It's one of the only times in this game that really irritate me, when I've got to follow someone who's just being obnoxious and pushing mindlessly. But at the end of the day, if you simply just keep on following them, all they're going to be doing is farming and then seeing you arrive to the lane, then farming more and seeing you arrive and clear it. If the enemy top laner is just pushing, follow them. It means they won't be able to get anything if you're following them. If you're top lane, it's your job for the most part to stick to the laner and control their influence. Yes, it's annoying sitting in lane, as I've said, being forced to stay, but it's completely shutting down your enemy's strategy and means you're still getting free farm as well. Number 3, push the lane heavily. If they're pushing and getting under your turret, push not 1 wave, but 2 to 3, assuming it's safe to do so. This isn't always a strategy you can employ. This is an important point that can many forget to do. If you push 2 to 3 minion waves, as seen below, you've shoved it in so far that your enemy has to now travel all of this distance, rather than just pushing 1 wave and immediately getting your turret, controlling you and boxing you in, essentially. You're not boxing. Once you push out that pressure, you box them in a little bit, actually. It just gives you and your team longer to deal with. During this example, I put Gangplank just sitting in a bush, just sitting there like an idiot. But he could have went mid lane, he could have went bot lane, maybe forced the dragon, they could have forced Rift, they could have done a couple of things, and this is all time they would have had just completely spare. Number 4, leave the lane in a pushed condition. Coming on from pushing, after your last wave, always leave it in a push condition. So I'll explain it. A push condition is when minions are pushing in your enemy's direction and will keep on stacking more and more. An easy way to do this is by killing the caster creeps only and leaving any siege or melee minions 100% alive. It will leave the lane pushing in your enemy's direction and more minions will accumulate. It means the split pusher will actually have to deal with that pressure and go to the lane and deal with it, or at the very least, because you've stacked it more, they have to kill more minions, which just stalls them. It's a really easy strategy to do. Just kill the casters and leave, and they will push for you. Your minions will I am 100% assure you, push in their direction. They'll have a massive mini move they've got to deal with. With this pressure, you can leave the lane, and it gives even more time than just pushing the lane. And if the enemy top laner, for example, does not go up and deal with it immediately, in 60 seconds, they'll have this massive mini move top they have to deal with, and you'll be controlling where they go rather than they controlling where you go. Number 5, preemptively clear. Do not wait until they're near your turret. Always try and react immediately. If you see them starting to split, rush up and push back the mini wave, or just try and shove as much as you can. If you go first, the pressure isn't too high. Leaving them hacking a little at your turret means you're reacting in a panic and rushing and maybe even teleporting, forcing a summer spell, which just didn't need to be used. This is where mistakes are made, and remember, they're controlling your movement by forcing the move. If you go top and force their movements by sticking to the lane they're in, splitting is all about movement control. Make sure that you're the one with the reins on that horse and keep on pushing forward. Number 6 is ZZ Rod or Banner of Command. ZZ Rod and Banner are great to massively resist the split pusher. They won't stop them, but they do resist them quite heavily. If versus a magic based split, Banner of Command is perfect. Versus anyone else, it's always ZZ Rod. ZZ Rod in general is the best. I'm just saying Banner of Command is really good if you're versus a Lissandra top splitting like hell. It pushes harder and wastes far more time for the split. ZZ Rod is just really good because there is always something in the lane pushing back. It means the split pusher is just gonna have to kill little creeps, and they have to constantly deal with it. And addition, it's not just the push. The reason why ZZ Rot is so strong is because it's pushing and it's deep in your territory. Don't put it in the middle of the lane or in a basic bush. Put it in the middle of the jungle a bit, as close as you can. But you have to remember, your enemy's not going to go looking for that in your jungle. No one's that ballsy. I'm telling you right now, no one's that ballsy. So what they're going to do is they're basically going to say, right, well, I can't get that ZZ Rot, so I just have to kind of deal with it. And they just get really irritated. It stops them. They can't kill it because it's in your jungle, and they're prone to being ambushed or blown up. So no matter what, you win. You win. It's just a side note. You can use it to ambush or control the wave. No matter what, it's a catch-22. You win. Just a side note. Obviously, it pushes the wave as well and nullifies a lot of their push strength. Number 7, gank them and get an objective. An enemy splitting deep is vulnerable. A lot of people think that split pushing is this incontrovertible thing. Assuming you've denied their wards or have contact vision of them, or you just get an engage. Basically, once you've done this and you've ganked them and you actually maybe get to kill them, which is a relatively common occurrence, if you get the kill, remember to do one thing. Get something for it. Take an objective. This is surprisingly the biggest point when ensuring we're versus a split pusher. For example, you kill the enemy top laner who's split pushing and force the Baron due to its 4v5. It's just so basic. But splitting is massive risks. If you get a split pusher, it can end the game of their mistake. Ensuring you get them, get something for it. If you get the split pusher, get the jungle. Force a 4v5 teamfight. Take a dragon, take a turret, take an inhibitor if they're open. Do something with the split pusher's mistake. Don't just kill him and go, right, oh, he's off for backs for 2 minutes. Get something. It's a 4v5 now. Use that advantage as much as you can. Split pushing is a player out by themselves, vulnerable as hell. You might as well abuse this if you do catch him to try and force the pressure from that player to the rest of the team. Number 8, help your team. Now, this is where I start stepping in eggshells. Sometimes leaving the lane after a push and shoving and taking objectives with your team is the best move. It all depends on your circumstances and requires a lot of game knowledge. If you, for example, teleport to a ward late game and get your team in a 4v5 teamfight, use the previous point to get turrets, inhibitors, and earn the freaking game off it to outpush your split pusher, who the split pusher might just get a second here. Going with the team for a stacked fight does more than one split pusher ever can. Why do you think solo based split pushing rarely happens in professional level play? People know this. If you just stack the fight and force it, you can force 4v5s, you can force turret takes, and one split pusher is easily dealt with for someone just backing afterwards. Helping your team if you've pushed it up and you've give yourself some breathing room is a good point. Number 9, have teleport. Finally, teleport is split pusher's worst enemy. TP allows you to blink to other lanes to stack, as I mentioned, or respond to a last second deep split. It either denies or forces the enemy to split somewhere else. It's just denying their strength. Versus a common split pusher, always pick up teleport. It's in professional level play. I personally haven't seen a game without a top laner who hasn't got teleport. There's a couple of compositions you can get away with it with globals, like a Pantheon top for example, but they're pretty rare, so for the most part, just get teleport. When you're behind. In this section, I'm going to cover how to deal with versus a split pusher like Aurelia when you're pretty far behind and they can duel you easily. Now, this is a pretty common occurrence top lane. It's a really snowbally lane. This is surprisingly easy, but tends to get people tilted if they can't even walk into the lane and duel, but there are ways around this and I'm going to explain them. Number 1, get tanky. You're behind. You can't fight with aggressive stats. Going in for aggressive stats is brain dead move. When behind, top lane is vastly the common split push lane. In a lane like that, you just have to get tanky, even if it's not necessarily your kind of role. So if you're UCO top, at least get something that gives a bit of HP. You should be getting tanky this far behind, even if not versus the split pusher, but I digress. Just remember to get tanky so you can't be melted by an aggressive laner. Now, there's a reason for this, I'll go into it later. Now, another point for this is that you can't get turret dove. This is the point. You go tanky so you can't get turret dove, and you can't keep on dying. We all know that there's that top laner that went 0-8 and they just keep on dying and dying and dying. If they get tanky, it resists this to quite a degree. Putting all of your gold into tank stats means you, with the help of the turret, should be able to survive getting dove, hence resist a forced split play, forcing your enemy to just keep on pushing waves and not get the turret. I'll cover this in the next point. Number 2, let it push to the turret. Once again, you're behind. The chance of you dueling this person and winning the fight is next to 0. The chance of you going toe to toe and swatting them out, punching left and right, is low unless they don't skill at all. Let it push. Are you going to lose minions? Yes, you're going to lose minions. 100% going to happen. Try to stay within experience range, assuming they can't engage from that distance, which most can't. And yep, lose your minions, let them push it. There's nothing you can do. If you're this far behind, you're pretty much done. Simples, do not run in and get caught out. Don't try to poke them down. Stack the odds in your favor. Let them push it under the turret and focus the minions only. Try and clear the minions as quick as you can. If you clear the minions, your enemy can't get to the turret or damage it, so it's safe. Now, assuming you're just focusing the minions, their only choice is to dive you because you're clearing the minions and they're having trouble. You're tanky, so with the turret, you'll be able to push them off because they can't dive someone who's tanky because the turret will do so much cumulative damage. They'll go back to pushing. If you do this, you're controlling a laner. This is the important part. You can lose games if you don't do this. A really powerful enemy member is forced to stick in the lane and try and get the turret, and you're just clearing the minions. All you're doing is resisting them. All you're doing is stopping them getting out of control. They can't kill you under the turret. This is your only job. As the diagram represents, you're controlling a powerful laner and stopping them from being useful. This is the only way to counter in a head split pusher. Stay under the turret, let it push, and as soon as they're about to get under your turret, clear the minions as quickly as you can. This stops the laner from getting out of hand too much and stacks the odds in your favor as much as you can. Assuming you're tanky, this is the only way to deal with it in a head split pusher. Number 3, vision. I mentioned this in my vision section from the previous point. Denial wards and use the common wards placements as seen below, and remember to grab a pink ward without your wards so your enemy won't go deep. Hence, by just killing one of their wards, you can spot the split push for the risk of your team helping you. This is one that I feel like most players is completely underestimate. If you just drop a pink and ask the jungler to basically red lanes, you can force or stop everything, or grab a red lane yourself and just deny all the wards. If you do this, I'm telling you right now, most top laners, even if they're just decently ahead, are not going to try and risk that. They're just not going to. Get a ward and see these common ward placements I just after showing. Red lands are pink these things, and if you do this, I'm telling you right now, they're gonna back off. They don't see your people coming, and it's the easiest way without fighting in a head laner to control them, and that's all what this is about, controlling a laner who got the best of you. Number 4, stack the lane. If the enemy top is massive and you can even turret dive, it does get to that point sometimes, I understand. I mean, an Aurelia 10 kills up, you may consider throwing the entire team up there and push that lane instead of pushing mid or top. This means that the fed member has to face an entire team and not just one person. Their team should retaliate and all go top, which means it's a force fight, and you just have to hope that your team's ahead enough to make up for your mistake. Unfortunately, there's very little you can do. Once it gets to the point where the enemy top laner is so far ahead they can kill your top under the turret, you can also consider a lane swap. But it's pretty much game over if you get to that point. There's very little you can do. A smart top lane player will literally end the game off that, which is, unfortunately, there's no strategy for that. I'm talking about when they're ahead, very strong, but not ridiculously ahead. When someone's like 20 kills up, it's just nothing you can do. And that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps versus the split pushers. I know this is one of the most irritating, blood-boiling subjects most people just don't know how to deal with, especially at lower levels of play. And you'd be surprised, guys, these are just the strategies to avoid split pushing. There's nothing really else you can do. So the diamonds do this, the challengers do this, the professionals do this. There's nothing else you can do beyond these real strategies. Maybe there's a couple of other strats you can pull with global comps and such, but, you know, obviously I digress. Hopefully it helps out there, guys. If you like it, dislike it, like the content, and you can subscribe. And if you hate it and think I've totally dropped the ball here, I'm totally wrong, you know, it's totally fair. I hope you have a great day, guys. Best luck in the Rift, and I shall see you guys next time.